Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the NEP Summer Series presented by RSL TV. I'm Austin Belke, joined in booth by John Peters and Ryan Salvatore behind the cameras, turning the knobs and pushing the buttons. Last week at Eldora, Ryan Messer took the win, followed by Keith Lord in the second position. But round six of the Summer Series has us in Nashville. John, what can you tell us about the fairgrounds?
Austin, it's fantastic to be here tonight. We're in the shadow of Broadway here in Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville Fairgrounds is a short track. Now, it's not like every short track. You do have some long straightaways and some high banking that's going to create speed. We also have bumps to factor in here tonight, Austin. This is a very abrasive racetrack. So these drivers are going to be fighting their own trucks. They're going to be fighting the trucks around them, but they're also going to be fighting, most importantly, the racetrack itself. And we've already talked in our production meeting earlier today. Tire fall off is going to be significant here tonight, so we'll have to see how these drivers deal with all those different factors.
That's right, John. This place races more like an intermediate track than it does a short track at times. But take us behind the wheel. What can the drivers expect out of this race tonight?
Well, it's going to have to be a little bit of give and take. I think you're going to be able to make a lot of ground on short runs and restarts. I think that's going to be one of the keys to success in this race tonight. When the green flag falls and you have a chance to maybe get up under the truck in front of you and put some pressure and make that truck loose, you'll be able to gain ground that way. But then once we settle in, that's when you're going to have to transition from aggressive attack to manage my tires, make sure my truck is there on the long run.
Now that we see drivers finally slotting into their positions on the grid, we'll go ahead and go through the starting lineup for today's affair. Keith Lord put the number 17 machine on the pole. He'll have Tim Shinoski rolling off to his outside in the second position. Lining up in the second row is Corey Casagrande on the inside and Brent Roy in the 26 machine on the outside. Roy winning most of the races this season. Let's see if he can continue that hot streak tonight. Zane Farrell rolls off in the fifth position. He'll have Drew Greenlaw to his outside in the sixth spot. Jeff Bradway, the last driver to take a time, rolls off in the seventh position. He'll have Paul Strickland Jr. in the 94 to his outside in eighth. And rounding out the field, Adam Henry in the 62 and Brian Ship in the 48.
In Austin, we have a newcomer to the NEP series tonight in Drew Greenlaw. That's Green Boy. He hails from north of the border in Canada and also has some alliances with drivers of the Brent Roys and the Ryan Messers of the NEP series. So we'll have to see what kind of information those teams have shared with Drew before this race tonight, what kind of manufacturer support that truck has. It looks like he's got Red Bull colors on, which indicate maybe a Chevrolet tie there. So we'll have to see how he performs in his debut tonight, but it's great to see another newcomer in the field.
Yeah, always great to see these guys really taking advantage of what the Summer Series is here for. Not only is it for a little bit of summertime off season, right, from regular NEP fun, but also to try and get some newcomers in here, see what they race like, see if we want to invite them into the full-time competition. And looks like Drew trying to take advantage of that. But Keith Lord rolling off on the pole position. Maybe today's the night. Keith Lord finally gets it done, finds himself in victory lane.
Keith Lord is always quick on short tracks. That seems to be his strength as we look back at previous race results at places like North Wilkesboro, for example. Keith is always strong at those kinds of tracks. He's very aggressive, so he does make those spots in the short run, like we mentioned, as a key to the race. The challenge for Keith is going to be keep the fenders on that truck, make sure you're around for all 75 laps here tonight, and have a shot as we get down to the end.
Yeah, Keith is one of those drivers who has some excellent short track pace, and then occasionally tends to fall off as the run goes on, just depending on how well he can maintain those tires. Usually, he does a pretty decent job at it, so I think starting from the first position tonight, this race might be his, but we'll see what happens here in about 75 short laps. Drivers had 2 laps to put down their best time. Now we're going to have 75 laps of racing. There are 2 tire sets available in the pits. As always, one fast repair in case things don't go your way. And if things continue to go yellow, we're going to have 2 green-white checkers. Green flag is out. We're underway. Keith with a strong start. Tim not letting him get too far away. Corey Casagrande down there on the inside. Let's see if he can make a move here on Tim Shinoski down the backstretch.
Right away, you can see these trucks fan out double wide, trying to make ground. But look at the way the line of the racetrack moves up in the center of the corner. That's going to make it tough for that truck on the inside, where the guy on the outside can use a lot of room. See Brent Roy drive that truck up the hill. Corey Casagrande is then going to be pinched down on this exit. Makes it tough to get the tires to make a good forward drive down the straightaway.
Yeah, there's also a huge bump down there on the inside of turn 2, right as you go to exit. It really unsettles the truck. You really want to make sure you've pointed it in the right direction while you come off the corner. Look at how far Corey Casagrande is forcing Brent up the racetrack.
You can also see Tim Shinowski there drive that truck down the hill on exit as, oh, Brent gets up into the fence. Perhaps a little bit of how you doing from the 7CT. We'll have to keep our eye on that as this race progresses. Those two, they're like magnets. They just seem to attract out on the racetrack.
Yeah, I don't know if that was contact there. This is going to be a quick replay. This is going down the back stretch, riding on board with Casagrande. I don't know if he got into the 26. If he did, it must have been a lot of net code. I think that might have just been Brent maybe slipping up, getting a little bit loose, and having to correct the truck up the racetrack.
Remember what we talked about right at the opening of the show, the bumps in the character of this racetrack? You just saw it there. Looks like the 26 hit a bump, skirted up the track. In order to save that truck, he had to overcorrect and ultimately keep himself from destroying the truck, but he did lose a couple spots in that exchange, and now you have the very hard task of trying to gain those spots back on the bottom, which is going to be a tough task for the 26.
Yeah, this place is so short. It's only 0.6 of a mile. And with the amount of banking we have here, it's a lot. It doesn't look like it right from this angle, but it's truly an incredible amount of banking. And to pack all that in here in a 180-degree corner, you're going to have some bumps, some undulations, and these trucks are turning at 180 degrees really, really fast. So would not be too surprising to me if we saw a couple of trucks maybe bottoming out or getting a little bit loose as they hit that undulating racetrack like you mentioned, John.
What will be interesting to see as the run progresses is a little contact there as Jeff Bradway skirts the wall. Which tire wears out quicker on these trucks? If it's the right front or if it's the right rear? You would think normally it's the right front's going to wear out because guys are driving the corner hard, scrub the tire, push up the hill, burn that right front. But it could actually be right there. See how Brent's trying to pin his race truck to the track, and right now he's trying to put the power down and get a run off the corner. You can also spin that right rear tire, and that'll only make you more and more loose as the run goes on, and that's going to make it impossible to go forward. And these guys will start to feel that out as they get to lap 15 into lap 20 of this run. Which tire am I wearing? Is it the right front? Is it the right rear? How can I adjust to slow that tire wear?
Looks like right now Keith and Tim have started to gap the rest of the field. Corey Casagrande about 4 or 5 truck lengths back from Tim. Tim's about 2 or 3 maybe from Keith Lord. Interested to see if this is the kind of pace that Keith is comfortable putting on. Maybe Tim's just willing to ride right now and doesn't want to force Keith to go any faster. Curious what Corey's doing back there in the 3rd position. I think he's just going as fast as he wants to. Maybe trying to force Zane into a compromising position if he wants to get past, and kind of the proverbial cork in the bottle right now for those 3 cars behind him.
Austin, last time I was in the booth, I got a lot of hate mail from the listeners because I mentioned the word air about 36 times. And I'm back here to mention it again, but I'll tell you this. We don't yet know how much of a factor air is on a track like this. I imagine it is some factor, but it's probably not as big of one that we'd see on an intermediate or a mile and a half. But the way that Tim Shinowski is kind of tucked right up behind the 17, like Zane Farrell is on Corey Casagrande, when you run right into the wake of that truck, oftentimes you're going to have to work harder to match that same speed because you're in that dirty air, and that's going to accelerate the tire wear. So we'll see. If that 40 truck starts to fall away from Keith Lord over time, we might actually see that come to play, unless they can get around that with just raw difference in speed.
John, I would never give someone hate speech for mentioning air in a broadcast like this, especially on a short track. These cars are going upwards of 100 miles an hour at every point around this racetrack. They only slow down to about the upper 80s just before they get back on the power to go down the next straightaway. They always say about 50 or 60 mile an hour is when you want to start to worry about aerodynamics when you're making a remote control car. So these trucks definitely depend on that downforce. There's no doubt in my mind Tim's truck is running a little bit more snug than Keith's is right now, just because Keith has all the cleanup in the world and Tim Shinowski's tucked right back there. Speaking of tucked up though, Zane Farrell right on the back bumper of the 7CT machine.
And we see Zane working over the back of this 7CT. We mentioned before the 7CT. It's one of the hardest trucks to pass in the series, and you're seeing it right there for that reason. See how Corey kind of pinches the exit off? He just doesn't give Zane any more than 1.00 truck lengths to work with. That means Zane has to pinch that truck down. He's got to be easier on the throttle. It really stalls the momentum of off. So you can see even just Jeff Bradway there just kind of missed his mark by a little bit and just skirted up into the wall. And then you can see the same thing played out right behind me. Brent Roy's trying to time a run on corner exit. He's trying to get straight down the hill. And then maybe you can pull even with that guy on corner entry. But it's so hard to keep the throttle down. You can see those two trucks just kind of slipping a little bit on exit.
Yeah, it's really difficult to make a pass here because even though this track looks extremely wide, and it is, there's one precise racing line that helps you get the best lap time. And if you try to pass a car or a truck off that racing line, it's going to be a lot harder than it looks like it's going to need to be. You have to be significantly faster than the driver you're trying to pass in order to actually execute that pass because it's so difficult here. Being offline by just a half or a whole truck width can really prove to be detrimental to your lap time.
It is interesting to see these four trucks right here really staying packed together where they kind of can't get away from one another. And I think we're going to see that start to evolve here in the next 8 laps as we approach lap 30. Which guys start to lose the tires on their truck? And that's going to tell us a bit about the tire wear. It's also going to tell us a bit about what's going to happen for the rest of this run if we stay green flag. I think you'll start to see them spread out a little bit, but if you're in a situation right here where, yeah, the tires are worn on the 7CT, maybe the 14 and the 13 and the 26 have better tires, they're stuck behind. It's still hard to pass. So sometimes that can equalize itself out, but I'd be watching to see what happens with this group here in the next few laps.
Yeah, and of course, that's really going to open the door right there. Zane got really loose off of turn 4. That's going to allow Jeff Bradway to get to his outside. Couldn't quite stay out there, though. If he was going to be able to get side by side, John, that's the tricky part. Once you get side by side with the car and you're on the outside, it's a lot easier to complete that pass because just like you said, you have all the real estate in the world and you can run your car or truck way up the racetrack, get it pointed back down and get a huge run off the corner and really make that guy on your inside loose coming off.
Yeah, if I'm Brent Roy, there's 2 ways to make a pass here. One, you can try to continue to work the bottom. The only way we're going to do it is if you can kind of keep in the guy's tracks right here, turn down the hill, get a big straight run off the corner, and then you have to pull up alongside that guy and then try to outbrake him on corner entry into the next turn, or maybe you use some racetrack and slide him up. That's option 1. Option 2 is you have to get to the right rear quarter panel of that truck. And that's when you can establish the outside lane and have the momentum. But it is so hard to carry the speed in the center of the corner to be able to do that unless the guy in front of you pounds the guardrail and knocks his fender in, and that opens the door for Brent Roy. Here he comes.
Yeah, give Brent Roy a big opportunity. He won't be able to take advantage of it, though. Let's see if anybody can make any hay with this 94 truck on the outside. That's Paul Strickland. He's going to go a lap down to the rest of these drivers here. Nothing doing for right now. They continue to run single file. Casagrande, Farrell, Bradway, and then you got Brent Roy back there, kind of the caboose on this 4-car train in the 6th position. Not having a bad run by any means, just can't quite make up any of these positions because of how difficult it is to pass on this racetrack.
You can even see Corey Casagrande starting to stretch that gap out a little bit as these guys get racing. We saw a couple laps ago, Zane Farrell got loose in the exit of turn 2. Looks like that right rear is starting to give up a little bit. He could be dragging this group back. But as I say that, you can see they're still trying to pull each other back together as soon as they get separated. So it's still a little bit tough to tell.
Yeah, just when I was beginning to think maybe the tires had gone away on the 7 machine, I think it's the 14 truck that's lost a little bit of that tire life as you see Jeff Bradway have a pretty decent sized moment there. He'll go down to the bottom of the racetrack in order to collect the truck. That will allow the 26 machine of Brent Roy to get to his outside, make the pass. This is a replay of what just happened, riding on board with Bradway. Or excuse me, this is Brent Roy. You'll see Bradway go for almost a spin there coming off the corner, but he'll save it.
And for these drivers, if you put yourself out on an icy road in the winter and the green light comes in the intersection and you start to accelerate, once you hit a patch of ice, you feel the rear tires spin under you and you kind of have that moment of, oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. That's what Jeff Bradway just went through right there. Went to lay the power down, hit the black ice, Come on, come on, come on, come on. It just hooked in time for him not to crash, but ultimately he did lose the spot.
Yeah, lost the spot there to Brent Roy. Let's see if Brent can get to the outside of Farrell here off the corner. Not quite. That's the closest we've seen anybody get to pulling off that move so far today. So we're nearing about the halfway point in today's race.
That's impressive. That tells me that 26 truck still has some turn. If you could carry enough speed in the center of the corner on the outside to pull up to the bumper cover like he did there, that's impressive. So we'll see if he can try to complete this on the bottom. He's going to have to shoot the entry up pretty high and then try to keep the power down right here, which it looks like he's doing an okay job of. Now outbrake into entry. One more corner, I think, and the 26 could have this pass complete.
Yeah, this is a huge boost of momentum there for that 26 machine. You know you're doing something right. Your car is handling well. Brent Roy finally able to clear Zane Farrell there. Moves the 26 truck now into that fourth position. He can set his sights on Corey Casagrande. That 26 machine is handling extremely well. Looks like he might be able to do the exact same thing he just did to Farrell now on the 7CT machine of Corey Casagrande.
So this is it right here. This is when the tire disparity is starting to show. We're at lap 37 of this race. It took a little bit longer than I would have thought. But you can see Brent has the tire advantage right now, and he's putting the pressure on Corey Casagrande, who's going to hold him tight. But if he can stay on the inside right here and rotate the center of the corner better, he's going to Harvick the yellow line. Bam. Pass made, 26 to 3rd.
Yeah, cleared himself there. A little bit of help from the 7 machine. Didn't fight him. Didn't pull over and let him by, but didn't fight him and stay on his door panel like he certainly could have been his prerogative to do that. Now it's going to allow for the 14 of Zane Farrell to get to the inside of Casagrande. Let's see if he can do the exact same thing. Looks like he's gonna. I think this is Corey Casagrande maybe realizing he pushed his tires a little bit too hard there in the earlier goings of the race. He's going to try to back it off now and see if he can save any of that Goodyear rubber before we get down to the last couple laps here.
Now the interesting part of tonight's race is we don't have fuel as a factor. These trucks can go the distance on 75 laps. Tires are in the pits. They have 2 sets that they could come down to and that the crew chief's hanging on to. I can tell you right now, they're making sure those pressures are right in case we do get a caution for the field to come down and reset this race. There's a chance we don't get that, and there's still 35 laps left to go. That's a long time. If you haven't taken care of your tires, your Keith Ford, if you're Tim Shinosky up front, that is something you will still have to manage. Brent Roy is just over 3 seconds back. He could clip a 10th a lap and get to the lead by the end of this race.
Yeah, a 10th of a lap is a lot to pick up, but those 2 drivers at the front of the field have been pulling away from everybody else. You got to wonder how much damage they've done to their tires thus far into the race. But of course, for Brent Roy, you know he used up a little bit of rubber trying to get through the field, and you know he's going to have to use up a whole lot of tire in order to run them down by the end of the race. So unfortunately, it's not just a matter of if he gets there, but it's also a matter of passing them when and if he does.
That's a great point. Those are 2 different things. We'll have to see how they play out as we get a look back here. At the lead, it's Keith Ford. He's led every single lap of this race so far with this FedEx Scarborough on board that truck. Like I said, Keith is good on the short tracks. He's been consistent in that way. He's always had the speed to do it. I think the track position helps Keith tonight as well. Started on the pole in that truck. Didn't have to fend off too many competitors right from the start. That's allowed him to run his own race. He's also not battling other drivers' internet connections that could take him out. So things are looking good for the 17, but like we've documented, caution could change everything.
Yeah, it certainly could. Look here at Tim Shinosky. He's about, what did he say, about maybe a second and a half, perhaps 2 seconds. Looks like he is 0.8 of a second off the back end of Keith Lord here. I got to wonder if this is Tim just kind of giving up the ghost right now. Doesn't quite have the speed to hang with him. Maybe he's saving his tires just a little bit. And of course, just like you mentioned, John, if a caution comes out right now, it would change everything.
And hey now, 5 laps ago, we talked about Brent Roy being within striking distance of these leaders over 3 seconds from the lead. That leads down to 2.5 seconds. Brent is on the charge. 2.4 seconds as they come down the back straightaway. He has a chance to run Keith Ford down. But the point you made, Austin, is right. How much time and tire does it take to get around Tim Shinosky in second in that Buc-ee's machine? If he can make a clean pass and get moving, he has a chance. If he gets stuck for a few laps, he does not.
Yeah, Just as the old adage says, it's one thing to catch a guy, it's another thing to pass him. Brent Roy's going to have to be perfect at doing both those against not just Tim Shinoski to have a chance at catching Keith Lord for the lead, but just the same with catching Keith Lord in order to pass him and win this race. You see Ship there on the inside, just pulling barely out of the way in time for Tim Shinoski to come by. Unfortunately for Brent Roy, that 48 truck's going to be right on the bottom. That's kind of been Brent's bread and butter right here. You see everybody else way up the racetrack compared to Brent, but he's really just arcing it into the corner, going about within a truck width, maybe less than that or so of the yellow line on the inside, and he's really doing a great job of diamonding the corner. That's you enter low, float up in the middle, and then get the thing pointed back down for corner exit. Brent's been doing that the last 20 or so laps, and it's gained him a lot of time.
The benefit you have when you do that is you don't scrub as much tire because you're not using as much wheel input. You can utilize the racetrack a little bit more to turn the truck. So that is a really interesting strategy at a track like this where you can use the momentum down the straightaway. And I think that's what's helped him a little bit here tonight. We have other tracks that are like that. We have IRP is one that comes to mind that kind of suits that driving style. Brent's always been quick there as well, but you can see, look at this battle. Adam Henry and Green Boy, Drew Greenlaw, are battling pretty hard here deep in the pack. Good to see these guys having a good race. And I made note earlier, Drew Greenlaw is a north of the border friend. He is kind of a north of the border friend. I should correct myself thanks to the production truck. Drew lives in Maine, but he has only ever raced in Canada because he lives so close to Canada that's what makes sense. And I mentioned Red Bull, probably Chevrolet ties. He's driving a Ford, so 0 for 2 for me.
All over the map there for that Greenlaw machine.
Oh, we got a car.
Out. A caution for Cause down the backstretch.
Corey Casagrande looks to have gone around there on the back straightaway, and that is going to bring the yellow that will change everything like we've been foreshadowing.
Let's see if we can't get a replay here on that 7 machine spinning out down the backstretch. This is looking right at Corey. This is off turn number 2. Oh, looks like he just grabbed a little bit of the apron. Did a nice pirouette down the backstretch and brings out the caution.
Here we go. All trucks down pit road. Look at the gap between those trucks. Pretty narrow, which is going to make this interesting as the race off pit road. Those first 3 trucks are pretty close nose to tail, and I would expect all of them to take 4 tires here with 20 laps to go in this race. So we'll have to see as they all hit their pit stall.
Everybody hitting the marks. Did you see Brent Roy just barely shortcut through a couple pit boxes there on the entrance to pit road? Gained about a half a car length on the 2 front runners. Zane Farrell going to take 2 tires and leave his pit stall. And it looks like Brent Roy is going to actually jump Tim Shinoski as they come off of pit road. 26 crew doing a fantastic job on pit road for him.
All right, here we go. There's the disparity in strategy. You saw Zane Farrell make the call down to pit road, 2 tires on that 14 truck. Everyone else took 4. And I'll be honest, if I'm on that 14 pit box, I am sweating bullets right now, thinking about my driver being out in front of this field on 2 tires. These trucks do not handle well on 2. We've tried it on short tracks, intermediates, 1.5 miles. Seems like these trucks fire off incredibly loose when you have worn left sides and new right sides, as those right sides really grip up the racetrack. So this will be fascinating. We'll also have to see which lane Zane chooses for this restart. If he goes on the bottom, he's going to get a good launch. That'll bring Brent Roy with him. If he chooses the top, that's going to be a little bit more advantageous to Tim Shinoski behind him. But you've got to get through that first corner without spinning these tires and creating problems. And here you see, he's chosen the top, Austin.
Yeah, I don't really, I can't blame him for taking that call. We mentioned earlier in the broadcast just how vital that top lane is to really holding off drivers and passing you on the inside. But John, I really have to agree with you. That 2-tire strategy might come back to bite him. He's going to have to hold on to this lead for the better part of about 16 or 17 laps at a place like this where the truck is already loose off the corner, and those 2 right sides are going to make this thing a whole lot more loose. iRacing pace car down pit road. An excellent launch there for Zane. He gets a a little bit loose there. Not quite able to clear Keith Lord. Let's see what they do as they go into the corner. A little bit of door banging there. That's only going to help out Keith Lord. That moves Zane Farrell now back into the second position. Let's see if Brent Roy can pass him on the 4 on the inside tires. Oh, Zane really loose, gets into the outside wall. That's what the 2 tires will do for you, folks. Just made that truck way harder to handle.
Well, we tried to help him, Austin, but the voice of the booth did not get down to the crew chief's radio comms. Zane Farrell, unfortunately, does fall through the field. But I'll tell you what, yes, the preferred groove of this racetrack is the top. But when you get down to late stages in the race, if you leave the bottom open on a restart, you do allow that truck on the inside to use the racetrack and get you out of there. That's what we saw from Keith Lord. That was a veteran short track move. He just entered a little bit aggressive, moved Zane up the racetrack. Zane already loose, didn't take much, and Keith Lord rockets out to the lead. Now we have the matchup we've been kind of foreshadowing there in that last run. Brent Roy on equal tires, equal track position to Keith Lord. Let's see what he can do with it, as Tim Shanoski's also going to make this challenging for Brent. He's going to stay right up close, put pressure on that 26, make sure he hits his marks.
Yeah, crucially though, I want to point out just how respectful, to me, it looked like Keith Lord was on that restart. I think he just allowed his truck to go up as far enough as that first dashed white line off the bottom of the racetrack, and I think that's all it took. I think Zane expected to maybe go about maybe 6 inches or a foot lower. That's what led to that contact, as there's now another caution out on the racetrack. It looks like that's going to be the 14 of Zane Farrell. Those 2 tires really not treating him well. This is a replay. And I think he got a little bit loose before Greenlaw got there and kind of finished him off there in that 20 machine. So that brings out the second caution of the night.
Yeah, it's just that classic trying to get to the exit of the corner. Truck's already loose and a little bit off balance. You got to put some throttle down. You get the wheel turned and around it goes. So no fault of Green Boy there. That was just the 14 truck meeting its maker on that run. But hey, we're going to have another restart, Austin. We're going to have another lane choice. And this question is going to come back around. Does Keith Lord take the top for the preferred groove and leave open the bottom for the 26, who is known to be aggressive on restarts? Or does he take the bottom and remove that element from his mind altogether? But if you're going to do that, you have to make sure you get a good launch. If Brent can stay on that right rear quarter panel out of turn 2, we're going to have a ball game down the backstretch.
Yeah, it really opens up a lot of opportunities for Keith Lord's mind to wander down every single scenario of what could possibly happen within the next, I'm going to say, 8 laps to go. When we go back green flag racing, a couple drivers went down pit road. We'll see how far they can make it up the field, but we've only put about 5 or 6 laps on our tires under green flag conditions so far, so don't expect those 4 fresh feel goods to do anything too big right now. If we had about a 20 or a 30 lap run, I would say by all means, it's a foregone conclusion those tires are going to come through the field, but we really haven't put a whole lot of laps on this set for all these guys up here at the front end of the field.
And I think we're going to get this restart with about 7 laps to go, which is just enough to get settled, get your trucks up to speed, and then try to figure out what your move might be. So we're going to have to see. This is going to be interesting. But here we come down to the line. Let's see what the lane choice is if we are choosing this lap. We are. Keith Lord takes the top. Same choice as Zane Farrell. Choosing the preferred groove. Opening up the bottom for Brent Roy.
Yeah, I think crucially the difference, what you're going to see this restart versus the previous one, is Keith has got 2 fresh tires on the rear axle as opposed to Farrell's 1 single right side tire. I think you're going to see Keith fire off a lot better than Zane did and be able to leave Brent Roy a little bit far behind here. Let's see what happens. Green flag back out in the air. Brent does a great job to stay with Keith. Keith is going to clear himself, so it's his opportunity to take either lane if he wants it. He'll stay to the outside. Brent Roy's going to race him clean, but they're neck and neck going down the backstretch. Keith, though, let him around the outside. He'll take the lead.
That restart was just good enough from Keith Lord to get fired and away from the 26, just enough where he could kind of close off that lane on corner entry, stall the momentum of Brent. And we have another car around. It's Corey Casagrande, who's pointed backwards in turn 2.
Yeah, I don't know if that was contact with another truck or if he did that all by himself. Let's catch the replay here. Looks
Just
like, yeah, he just lost it all by himself there.
looks like he just drove in the corner a little bit too deep. And when you do that, you're probably going to hit a bump. Talked about bumps at the opening of the broadcast. Probably hit a bump in the racetrack. We saw that happen to Brent Roy earlier in this race. Bounced off a bump, got loose, got up into the wall. And looks like that's what happened to Corey. But I don't want to be a broken record here, Austin. We're going to have to see again what Keith chooses here, as we're going to have a quick yellow. I would have to imagine he's going to make the same choice, but we'll see.
Yeah, if I were Keith Lord, I'd have to try to take the outside here and then get away as well as I can off the restart from Brent. See if I can just gap him enough to where I don't give him the opportunity to door me in the center of the corner. This will be a quickie caution here, so we should line up and restack them this time by. We'll see which lane Keith picks here.
Now, for all of you watching at home, viewers across the country, I want you to pay attention to this restart and this restart line. You can see they're going to enter it right there. When Keith Lord hits that white line and they come out of turn 4 next time around, does he go right at the beginning of that box, that first line? Or does he try to change the timing, wait a little bit, get the field to stack, and be unpredictable? We've seen him go early each time, which is the most foolproof option. But Brent, on a green-white checker, he's going to be ready for that. Those Canadians are good at these restarts. We'll have to see what Keith decides to do, but that is going to decide this race when they hit that restart box in turn 4.
Yeah, Keith quickly running out of tools in the toolbox here of how to keep that 26 truck in his mirror. iRacing Pace Truck's going to go down pit road right here, and we wait for Keith Lord to press the accelerator pedal. Right there, he got on the throttle. Brent called his shot. He's got a much better start this time as they go down to the corner. Do they make, oh, they do make a little bit of contact side by side as they come off turn 2. Drag race down the backstretch. Let's see what happens in turns 3 and 4. Roy on the bottom, Lord around the outside. A little bit more contact. Nobody's worse off, though. They're dead even as they hit the stripe. I think it was Lord that time by.
That was it. That was the move. Brent timed the restart, and now they are dead even down the back straightaway. Austin, we got a ball game.
Side by side down the backstretch. It's the final lap. Oh, Brent a little bit up the racetrack. Going to be a drag race to the line. Lord has the momentum. He hits the wall.
Oh!
Brent Roy still wins the race.
That was awesome. Wow. Have you ever?
No, I've never.
Oh, Austin, it came down to that restart, just like we talked about. And Brent got a great launch to set him up even with that 17. You can see him here side by side. I'll tell you what, this is good racing here. Brent gets down in the corner, gives a little shot to the 17, who kicks it in the gas and runs up the hill, and they drag race down to the line. Keith tries to slow the momentum of that 26, and by a headlight, Brent gets his 4th win of the NEP Summer Series.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Keith Lord, it's going to be a game of what ifs right now, because I really feel like had he not made the contact with the outside wall there off of turn 4, I think he would have won that drag race. But unfortunately for Keith, he did. It slowed him down a lot. That's what, in my opinion, handed Brent Roy the win. You see the margin of victory there, 2/100ths of a second for the 26 truck of Brent Roy. We're going to take a quick break. You're going to see a highlight reel. When we come back, we'll talk to Brent, we'll talk to Keith, and we'll wrap up the show. Don't go anywhere.
I don't think they're going to have enough time to get back around unless something happens, and there it happens. The 17 in the back of the 09 car. We are wrecking, coming to the checkered. Who's going to make it through but the 13 car of Marhefka? Brandon Marhefka going to come home with the victory. John Peters, after getting turned, going to come home second. Reagan Parrott in third. Folks, I'm sick as a dog. I can't get that excited. How about that finish?
Welcome back to Nashville Fairgrounds. I'm Austin Belke, joined by John Peters in the booth. As always, we've got Ryan Salvatore behind the cameras. We just wrapped up an awesome finish here. We'll go ahead and bring you through the finishing lineup here. Brent Roy narrowly grabs a win, 2/100ths, separating himself and Keith Lord. Lord dominated the race today, led most of the laps. Jeff Bradway comes home in third, followed by Tim Shinaski in fourth. Zane Farrell rounds out the top five with Paul Strickland in sixth, Corey Casagrande in seventh, Brian Shipp in eighth, Adam Henry ninth, and Dan Greenlaw in his NEP Series debut comes home in the 10th position. See if we can't go ahead and bring Brent Roy up into the booth and talk to our winner here. Brent, what an incredible last couple laps. I mean, you definitely didn't leave anything out there on the racetrack. What a win.
Thanks, guys. That was a lot of fun. I figured once we had the last restart, we had a shot at it, and couldn't really believe Keith picked the top. So I was like, man, we've been better on the bottom all race. So we'll just try to get a good restart here, and we kind of did, and hung with them, and just kind of worked out.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, you did a great job kind of calling your shot of when he was going to restart. And I'll be honest, for the first, I'm going to say 4 or 5 turns of that last restart, it looked like you were giving Keith just enough room to get it done. I think the only time you might have been a little overzealous was on the white flag lap. But in all fairness, I mean, you're going for the win and you got to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, me and Keith race, we go way back and trade paint from, I don't know, first days of NEP. So um, we know how each other races, and we made contact a few times on the last lap there. But I mean, when the white flag's out, as long as you don't wreck the guy, gloves are off.
I mean, to be fair, that's about the most door banging we've seen in NEP without somebody wrecking in a very, very long time. So, heck of a job to you there. Take me back to the beginning of the race. You sort of get started on the back foot. You're back there in about sixth or seventh position. You're trying to make moves. It's not really happening. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, it was really hard to pass. Everybody's so equal at the start, so it looked like about, I don't know, 15 laps in or so, it was having a green flag look to it. So I was like, you know what, I can't really make any passes, so I'm just gonna sit back here, conserve my stuff. They're gonna wear their stuff out, and when it's wore out, then I'm gonna start making moves. So a couple guys made mistakes and gave me a spot here and there, and we just started kind of marching to the front. I was kind of hoping the race was gonna run green because I think we would have got at least to the 17 by the end of it. I don't know if we would have got around them, but we definitely were coming there with about, I don't know, 20 to go or so. I think depending on if Tim would have gave me fits passing for second or not, or if I could have got around him at all, it would have been interesting to see how that long green flag run panned out. But this one was certainly a lot more exciting when you get 4 new tires, and like I said, door to door, gloves are off. As long as you don't wreck anybody, then you put on a show for the fans.
Well, for what feels like the 10th time this season, who makes it possible for that 26 truck to get to and from the racetrack?
Man, 229 Autosports brings some wicked fast trucks, and we've been experimenting on a couple things in the off season here. So hopefully next race there at I think we go to the Super Speedway next. I'll see a couple more of my teammates out, but those guys, Flow Racing, mom and dad, my fiance, my kids let me come in down here and do this on my, well, I don't have much spare time, but when I do get some spare time, and you guys at the booth, a really big thanks to Sal for putting this summer series on. It's turned into quite a bit of fun. It's not as many guys out as we like to see, like 10, probably like see 15, 16 guys out, but um, regardless, it's still a ton of fun and kind of keeps you fresh over the off season. So big thanks to Sal and you guys for calling the shots up there.
Well, Brent, thank you so much for your time. Congrats again on the win.
Thank you.
Brent Roy, big winner here tonight at Nashville. And now I think John's caught up with Keith Floor down on pit road.
Yeah, I am down here on pit road with Keith Lord, who got out of the race truck, and you could see the disappointment on the face of the 17. And Keith, I know I'll start with the obvious here. That last restart, anything you could have done differently?
I don't think anything was wrong with the restart. I felt like choosing the top was the best. I felt confident if Brent was going to run me up, I could still get momentum on the top. The only thing that I need to take back is planting the wall off before. That was just a good hard race. I just made a mistake there. Just didn't need the cautions. But no, the nothing. I don't think I could have done anything different on the restart.
We saw you dominate this race from the drop of the green flag, where you got out front. Seemed like you managed your tires pretty well. There's a period there where you kind of started to gap Tim a little bit. Did you feel like at that point you had the race in hand?
Yeah, I mean, I could tell that Brent was coming. I knew he was probably saving tires early, and I was just trying to manage whatever Tim's pace was early. I was just trying to match that. I just didn't want to lose the lead in track position and all that good stuff. And then I started to kind of gap Tim, and I felt like I was in a good spot. I felt like I had saved enough tire to where if Brent got to me before whatever there was 20 laps to go before that first caution or whatever it was, still feel like I had plenty in the tank to walk away with it. Unfortunately, we just got untimely cautions and just didn't work out.
And Keith, it seems like you're super comfortable here on this racetrack tonight. Seems like short tracks are kind of your jam in that FedEx Scarborough truck. Is that true? I mean, it feels like North Wilkesboro, Nashville feels like that's right up your alley.
Yeah, I think all these tracks, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I think North Wilkesboro and Nashville are all good to me here. Wilkesboro, I kind of got taken out inadvertently, and then here I just made a mistake. They always seem to slip away, but definitely felt like, again, had the truck to beat, just didn't work out.
All right, who got that 17 to the racetrack tonight? Do you want to thank?
Like you said, Scarborough FedEx, they're getting really close to groundbreaking their new facility. They already hired a bunch of new people, really great for the community. And Core Race Products, Max Industrial, 1729 Inc., RCL TV, Austin, and you. I'm sure you did a great job in the booth. So, yeah, just it was a good time. Excited to run a full season in NEP and hopefully just consistently run up front like I have in the summer series.
All right, that's Keith Lord, your runner-up finisher tonight. Austin, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, John. Big shout out to Keith Lord for joining us up here in the booth. Always appreciate getting the opportunity to talk with him. And how about getting the opportunity to talk to a new guy in the series, Mr. Greenlaw? So, Drew, I mean, what's your first impressions on racing out here in NEP? Drew Austin and Roy's up in the RCL TV booth. You got a copy? Might have walked away. A little bit of technical difficulties
Copy.
there. Well, can't say we didn't try. Oh, looks like we caught Drew just at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed my first race here. This is new for me, iRacing in general, and just trying to learn here tonight, and I think I accomplished that.
So, Drew, Sal did a little bit of internet sleuthing, maybe. I don't know how we got this information, but apparently you're from Maine, but the majority of your real life racing is done in Canada. Is that right?
I've actually never raced in the United States in general. My dad is from Canada, and that's kind of what drew me that way. And I race up in Speedway 660 and other tracks in New Brunswick.
Awesome. Very much. You have met Brent Roy in real life, I assume, right?
Oh yeah, I think I raced my first year as sportsman with Brent and raced door to door with Ryan Messer for many years in the sportsman division. And getting into it.
Always nice to hear a drivers with the real life experience coming into the simulatory world here in NEP. Drew, I mean, is it as fun online as it looked to be in here in NEP?
Yeah, I mean, this is my first time, honestly, even getting into the trucks in general. So, yeah, it's a learning curve for sure, but I actually really enjoyed it tonight.
Glad to hear you had a nice time. Drew, who makes it possible for you to get on here and race with us online?
I gotta first of all thank the wife for letting me take the time to be here tonight, and no, thanks, thanks to you guys for putting it on.
Yeah, for sure. John's got a question for you as well. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Drew, John Peters here. I was wondering if you could elaborate on your love for chicken tenders.
Uh, I don't know. I think that's the high functioning autism side of me. I've always enjoyed chicken tenders. This goes back to a joke from, I don't know, probably 10 years old. I managed to get to Oxford with a bunch of guys from Canada, and they made fun of me because I think I put down at least 5 or 6 baskets that day at the 250.
That's mad respect. Thanks for letting me jump in on this interview here, Austin. I appreciate it.
No problem. Always appreciate the kind of, I'm going to say journalistic integrity here at RCL TV. Anyways, Drew, thanks so much for joining us here and thank you for your time as well.
Thank you.
Was Drew Greenlaw. We're going to take a quick look at the points here before we wrap things up for tonight. See Corey Casagrande now atop the point standings. We'll see how much longer that can go. Wouldn't it be something here if Corey could come home with the championship? We've got 2 more races before the end of the season. Nashville Super Speedway, so we're going to stay local. Don't have to go very far before this same time next week. And then to wrap up the season, Kern County Raceway. John, your thoughts on tonight as a whole, and what do you look forward to staying in Nashville and just going to the Super Speedway next week?
I'll tell you what, I was impressed for 10 trucks that made up the field tonight. We really didn't notice. We had some great racing all throughout that race, whether it was the long run early, where you saw guys have to manage their tires and then start to lose the handling on their trucks, which made it really interesting. Then everything came down to an exciting late race decision on pit road. We saw Zane Farrell take 2 tires, didn't work. We saw the rest of the field take 4 and then have to settle it out amongst themselves. So I was encouraged by that. I think that was some great racing. We have a very interesting situation shaping up here with 2 weeks left. Brent Roy is 1 point out of the point lead, having missed a race, dominating the series otherwise, and we'll have to see how that shakes out. Nashville Super Speedway is so different. That track is concrete, it is fast, and it's very aero dependent, so not much will translate, but it's great to stick around in Nashville. I think the guys will probably hit Broadway this week. Maybe they'll hit some of their favorite bars, and hopefully they can make it out here 1 week from tonight.
Yeah, it's interesting. We go from a short track that races like an intermediate to an intermediate that races like a short track. Next time, like we just mentioned, head to Nashville Super Speedway. I believe Steve Daddio will be joining me in the booth for that. As always, Sal will be up here behind the cameras. On behalf of myself, Austin Belke, my booth mate John Peters, and our director Ryan Salvatore, thank you so much for watching and good night.